Uh, Once again, we are back to continue. We are back to continue with our second presentation. As I mentioned earlier, we have three presentations today, which are the concluding presentations for our course, which is the topic is emerging cybercrime trends. And today we shall be talking about cybercrime investigation. We shall be talking about cybercrime investigation. And I'll straight away proceed to the first slide. And we shall say, what is a cybercrime investigation? What is a cybercrime investigation? We have looked at various types of cyber attacks. We have looked at motivations of cyber attacks. We have looked at how cyber attacks are committed, and we have seen the damages that can be caused by these attacks. Now we want to look at cybercrime investigation. And when we talk about cybercrime investigation, it means an incident has already happened, and now we need to find out exactly how this occurred, so that we may prosecute the perpetrators and also put in place measures to ensure it doesn't happen again, to put in place protective measures. Now, a cybercrime investigation is the process of investigating, analyzing, and recovering forensic data for digital evidence of a crime. The process of investigating, analyzing, and recovering forensic data. Please mark those words: forensic data for digital evidence of a crime. Examples of evidence in a cybercrime investigation include a computer, a cell phone, automobile, navigation system, video game console, or other network device found at the scene of a crime. So that's the examples of evidence. This evidence helps cybercrime investigators determine the perpetrators of a cybercrime and their intent. The evidence helps investigators determine the perpetrators of a cybercrime and their intent. A digital crime or cybercrime is a crime that involves the usage of a computer, phone, or any other digital device connected to a network. We have already gone through this several times, so you already know. That is information that you already know. The electronic device can be used for two things: perform the cybercrime, that is, launch a cyber attack, or act as the victim by receiving the attack from other malicious sources. Cybercrime investigators must be experts in computer science, understanding not only software, file systems, and operating systems, but also how networks and hardwares work. So to be a successful cybercrime investigator, you must be able to understand softwares. You must be able to understand file systems. You must be able to understand operating systems, and you also must be able to understand how networks and hardware work at a deeper level. This knowledge must be knowledge that is on your fingertips. I hope we are together there. So if you want to develop yourself to the level of becoming a cybercrime investigator, then there is a deeper knowledge that you need. You need to continue learning. You need to continue developing yourself so you can reach that level. It is a very interesting field because that is where we are going now. And for your information, even for myself, I am planning to do another certification in cybercrime investigation. I'm trying to develop myself further into this field because I know this is where the world is moving. The world is moving into deeper and deeper and deeper use of online systems, deeper and deeper use of internet connections and networks, and deeper use of sophisticated systems that will come into place in the near future. So to be able to operate or to succeed in this field, then you need to have thorough understanding. They must be knowledgeable enough to determine how the interactions between these components occur, to get a full picture of what happened, why it happened, when it happened, who performed the cybercrime itself, and how victims can protect themselves in future against this type of attacks. Pick the words, how it happened, when it occurred, who performed the cybercrime, and how victims can protect themselves in the future. What takes place in a cybercrime investigation? Please, can you note something there? I would like you to note something there. I will pause. Please note something. Write those points. What happens in a cybercrime investigation? What exactly happens in a cybercrime investigation? Okay. Cybercrime investigators perform many tasks. Cybercrime investigators perform many tasks, including determining the nature of a cybercrime. That is number one. Determining the nature of a cybercrime. And then conducting an initial investigation. Conducting an initial investigation. And then identifying possible digital evidence. Identifying possible digital evidence. And then they also perform digital forensics on devices. Digital forensics on devices. And then also they do securing digital devices and evidence. And then also presenting evidence in the judicial system. Presenting evidence in the judicial system. Please write down these points, and we shall look at them slowly as we go along. However, remember, the scope of this course is not to teach you on forensic investigations. That is completely a different field. So I'll just open your mind into what these people are supposed to do, what the investigators are supposed to do. We have seen they have a responsibility to identify possible digital evidence. Okay. Organizations that conduct cybercrime investigations. Which organizations conduct cybercrime investigations? The following organizations aim to prevent cybercrime from happening through deterrence, monitoring, and education. Number one is the criminal justice and law enforcement agencies. The criminal justice system is made up of a network of agencies, including law enforcement, the judiciary, and the corrections. Individuals who work in criminal justice agencies include law enforcement officers, prosecutors, and judges. These agencies work independently yet work together to investigate and prosecute violations of cybercrime laws. Each branch of the criminal justice system is responsible for certain areas of the investigating of the justice process. Each arm of each branch of the criminal justice system is responsible for certain areas of the criminal justice process. Criminal justice agencies are the operations behind cybercrime prevention campaigns and the investigation, monitoring, and the prosecution of digital criminals. Depending on your country of residence, a criminal justice agency will handle all cases related to cybercrime. For example, in the US, and depending on the case, a cybercrime can be investigated by the FBI, US Secret Service, Internet Crime Complaint Center, US Postal Inspection Service, or the Federal Trade Commission. In Kenya, we have a National Computer and Cyber Crimes Coordination Committee, NCCC, which has got this responsibility. We are going to look at that now. The NCCC was established under the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act of 2018 to enable timely prohibition, detection, investigation, prosecution, and response to computer misuse and cybercrime. The Act provides a framework to fight computer misuse and cybercrime by facilitating investigation procedures for local and international corporations. It establishes jurisdiction and prescribes penalties for crimes such as mobile money fraud, developing websites to steal people's information, child pornography, among others. The committee comprises representatives from the Kenya Defence Forces, the National Police Service, the National Intelligence Service, the Ministry of Interior, as well as representatives from the Office of the Attorney General and Director of Public Prosecutions, Communications Authority of Kenya, and the Central Bank, among other agencies. So there are several agencies, as you have seen, in the committee that is charged with the responsibility of investigating cybercrime, prohibition of cybercrime in Kenya. And the data protection in Kenya is regulated by the Data Protection Act number 24 of 2019, the Data Protection Act. We will, if you find time, you should be in custody of this act. However, I will check and see if I'll find it. I will share with you. Also, our chief principal, or Mr. Fred Dula, can also arrange and share with you this act, because I know they have it. In other countries such as Spain, the National Police and the Civil Guard take care of the entire process, no matter what type of cybercrime is being investigated. Law enforcement, police officers, agents, and investigators is responsible or are responsible for gathering evidence of a crime, arresting suspects, and charging suspects with a crime. The judiciary consists of lawyers who present their evidence against the charged individual, lawyers who defend the individual, judges who preside over the proceedings, and juries who decide whether the individual is guilty or innocent. Corrections agencies ensure that the prosecuted criminals remain behind bars during their sentences. The prisons, Then national security agencies. So we have the criminal justice agencies and law enforcement, and then again we have national security agencies. This is also another organization that investigates cybercrime. This also changes from one country to another, but in general, this type of agency usually investigates cybercrime directly related to the agency. For example, an intelligence agency should be in charge of investigating cybercrimes that have connection to their organization, such as against its networks, employees, or data, or have been performed by intelligence actors. In the US, another good example is the military, which runs its own cybercrime investigations by using trained internal staff instead of relying on federal services. So this depends from country to country. And then there are also private security agencies. Private security agencies are also important in the fight against cybercrime, especially during the investigation process. While governments and national agencies run their own networks, services, and applications, they make up only a small fraction of the immense infrastructure and code kept running by private companies, projects, organizations, and individuals around the world. So, private security agencies. Private security experts, research companies, and blue teams play a critical role when it comes to preventing, monitoring, mitigating, and investigating any type of cyber security crime against networks, systems, or data running on third-party private data centers, networks, servers, or simple home-based computers. The wide range of cybercrime investigated by private agencies knows no limits and includes, but is not limited to, hacking, cracking, virus and malware distribution, DDoS attacks, online frauds, identity theft, and social engineering. We have already covered those things. So from the previous presentations, I think you can go back and remember and refresh your mind on those areas. And then there are also private security firms like Brand Security Services. The private sector remains one of the most vulnerable to internal and external threats. Many of the largest companies have their own cybersecurity departments to monitor, prevent, and mitigate cyber attacks. Some private sector companies hire specialized cybersecurity firms to help them defend against cyber attacks. With the creation of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, in 2008, the private sector can leverage government resources to address cybersecurity problems. This CISA is a company or an agency in the US that also fights cybercrime. Also, cybercrime investigation techniques. There are many techniques that are used to investigate cybercrimes. So we are just going to discuss few here. And with changing technology, with advancements of technology, then new techniques come into place. Also, with the changing or dynamic nature of the threat, then we need to continue developing new techniques. Therefore, while techniques may vary depending on the type of cybercrime being investigated, as well as who is running the investigation, most digital crimes are subject to some common techniques used during the investigation process. Activities that a computer crime investigator performs include recovering file systems of hacked computers, acquiring data that can be used as evidence to prosecute crimes, writing reports for use in legal proceedings, and testifying in court hearings. So, activities that a crime investigator performs include recovering file systems of hacked computers, acquiring data that can be used as evidence to prosecute crimes, writing reports for use in legal proceedings, and testifying in court hearings. Crime investigation techniques include 1. Performing background checks. So number 1, write it down. Performing background checks. Establishing the when, where, and the who of a crime sets the stage for an investigation. This technique uses public and private records and databases to find out the backgrounds of individuals potentially involved in a cybercrime. Creating and defining the background of the crime with the known facts will help investigators set a starting point to establish what they are facing and how much information they have when handling the initial cybercrime report. 2. Gathering information. So 1 is performing background checks. 2 is gathering information. This technique is one of the most critical in cybercrime investigations. Here, investigators ask questions such as, what evidence can be found? What level of access to sources do we have to gather the evidence? What was it an automated attack or a human-based targeted crime? Was there any open opportunity for this attack to happen? What is the scope and impact? Can this attack be performed by anyone or by certain people with specific skills? Who are the potential suspects? And what digital crimes were committed? So gathering information. You have to gather this information. Please note something down there. And then we also see the answers to these and other questions provide the foundation for a successful investigation and are a valuable consideration during the information gathering process. One of the most important things any cybersecurity researcher must do is grab as much information as possible about the incident. A lot of national and federal agencies use interviews and surveillance reports to obtain proof of a cyber crime. Surveillance involves not only security cameras, videos, and photos, but also electronic devices. Surveillance that entails what's being used and when, how it's being used, and all the digital behavior involved. One of the most common ways to collect data from cyber criminals is to configure a honeypot that will act as a victim while collecting evidence that can be later used against attacks. Number 3 is tracking the authors of a cybercrime. So number 1 is background checks. Number 2 is gathering information. Number 3 is tracking the authors of a cybercrime. With information about a crime in hand, cybercrime investigators work with internet service providers and telecommunications and network companies to see which websites and protocols were used in the crime. This technique is also useful for monitoring future activities through digital surveillance. Investigators must seek permission to conduct these activities through court orders. So you have to seek permission to conduct these activities through court orders. You cannot just start investigating cybercrime without the authority, without permission from the courts in a particular country. So you have to do what? You have to seek permission through court orders so that you are allowed to conduct this investigation. Please mark that one, because you will be gathering information, carrying out surveillance, and this can only be done with the authority from the courts. Also, tracking the authors of a cybercrime. With information about a crime in hand, cyber investigators work with the internet service providers and telecommunications and network companies to see which websites and protocols were used in the crime. This technique is also used for monitoring future activities through digital surveillance. Investigators must seek permission to conduct this type of activities through court orders. Tracking and identifying the authors is number 4. Tracking and identifying the authors. The next step is sometimes performed during information gathering process, depending on how much information is already in hand. In order to identify the criminals behind the cyber attack, both private and public security agencies often work with the ISPs and networking companies to get valuable log information about their connections, as well as historical evidence, historical service, websites, and protocols used during the time they were connected. This is often the slowest phase. All it requires legal permission from prosecutors and a court order to access needed data. So remember, to access any needed data on any individual or in any organization, remember that you need, it's not that you need permission from prosecutors and a court order to access the needed data. And then 5 is running digital forensics. Cybercrime investigators use their digital and technology skills to conduct forensics, which involves the use of technology and scientific methods to collect, preserve, and analyze evidence throughout an investigation. Forensic data can be used to support evidence or confirm a suspect's involvement in a crime. Forensic data can be used to support evidence or confirm a suspect's involvement in a crime. Please, if you have any questions, because this is a very critical area, if you have any questions, please refer the questions to Fred Dula immediately. Fred Dula will be able to come up with the answers and guide you accordingly. So if you have any questions, because we are moving very fast and next week we are doing our final semester exams. So if you have any questions, please direct them to Fred Dula without delay. Once researchers have collected enough data about the cybercrime, it's time to examine the digital systems that were affected or those supposed to be involved in the origin of the attack. This process involves analyzing network connections, raw data, hard drives, file systems, caching devices, RAM memory, and more. Once the forensic work starts, the involved researcher will follow up on all the involved trails, looking for fingerprints in system files, network and service logs, emails, web browsing history, etc. Cybercrime investigation and forensic tools. I am going to mention some of the cybercrime investigation and forensic tools. Cybercrime investigation tools include a lot of utilities depending on the techniques being used. Most of these tools are dedicated to the forensic analysis of data once the evidence has been collected. There are thousands of tools for each type of cybercrime. Therefore, this isn't intended to be a comprehensive list, but a quick look at some of the best resources available for performing forensic activity. SIFT Workstation. This is a forensic tool collection created to help incident response teams and forensic researchers examine digital forensic data on several systems. It supports different types of systems such as FAT121632 as well as NTFS and others. When it comes to evidence image support, it works perfectly with single row image files. Best of all, it's open source and completely free. So write down SIFT Workstation. What I want you to do, I want you to note these things down and then research on them more. Note them down, then just Google and research on them more and see how they work. So number one is a SIFT Workstation. Number two is the Sleuth Kit, written by Brian Carrier and known as TSK. The Sleuth Kit is an open source collection of Unix and Windows based forensic tools that helps researchers analyze disk images and recover files from those devices. When we talk about researchers, we're talking about investigators. Its features include full parsing support for different file systems such as those mentioned. Available from the command line or used as a library, the Sleuth Kit is the perfect ally for any person interested in data recovery from file systems and raw-based disk images. So write down the Sleuth Kit. So number one, we said it is the SIFT Workstation, SIFT Workstation. These are tools. Number two, we say it is the Sleuth Kit. And number three is the X-Ways Forensics. X-Ways Forensics. This software is one of the most complete forensic suites for Windows-based operating systems. It's widely supported for almost any version of Windows, making it one of the best in the particular market and letting you easily work with versions such as Windows. One of its coolest features is the fact that it's fully portable, making it possible to run it from a memory stick and easily take it from one computer to another. Its main features include ability to perform disk cloning and imaging, read portions from raw image files, HDDs, etc. It also offers advanced detection of detected partitions in the mentioned system, as well as advanced file carving and file directory catalog creation. So that is number three. It is the XWAYS Forensics. And then number four, we have the Kane software. Kane is not a simple cybercrime investigation application or a suite. It is a full Linux distribution used for digital forensic analysis. Take note of that, Kane. It works from the live CD and can help you extract data created on multiple operating systems such as Linux, Unix, and Windows. File system, memory, or network data extraction. Kane can do it all by combining the best forensic software that runs on both command line and GUI-based interfaces. It includes popular digital crime investigation apps such as the SleuthKit, Autopsy, Wireshark, Photorec, Tinfolic, and many others. So Kane, sorry, and then Paladin is also another tool. Paladin is a bootable Linux distribution based on Ubuntu and developed by Sumuri. The Paladin toolbox helps streamline numerous forensic tasks, truly offering forensic tools galore. Over 30 plus categories with over 100 tools, including the SleuthKit and Autopsy. This veritable forensic lab on a disk is available in both 64 and 32-bit version, making it one of the most popular suites of its kind. Used by law enforcement, military, federal, state, and corporate agencies, Paladin is the perfect ally for any computer crime investigator. Is a perfect ally for any crime investigator. And then we also say ProDiscover Forensics. Widely used in computer forensics and incident response, ProDiscover Forensics has the capabilities needed to handle every aspect of a forensic investigation. This digital forensic product helps investigators quickly and efficiently uncover files and collect, process, protect, and analyze data, as well as create evidence reports. ProDiscover's product suite offers investigators a wide array of diagnostic and evidence tools to explore evidence and extract relevant investigation artifacts. Its features include extensive automation, cloud forensics, memory forensics, previews of files without altering data on disk, including metadata, and examining data at the sector level. ProDiscover is also a very important and a nice tool to use in investigation. And then we have Digital Forensics Framework, known as Digital DFF. The Digital Forensics Frameworks is a computer forensics open source software that allows digital forensics professionals to discover and save system activity on both Windows and Linux operating systems. It allows researchers or investigators to access local and remote devices such as removable drives, local drives, remote server file systems, and also to reconstruct MVWare virtual disks. You can see how comprehensive and how wide this thing is. It is a very wide field. That is why I said if you want to venture and become a cybercrime investigator, then you have to build your career. You have to build your career to the highest level possible. You have to understand these operating systems. You have to understand application systems. You have to understand all network systems, and you have to also to understand in-depth details of these tools. And then we have Oxygen Forensics Detective. Oxygen Forensics Detective. This tool is one of the best multi-platform forensic applications used by cybersecurity researchers and forensic professionals to browse all critical data in a single place. With Oxygen Forensic Detective, you can easily extract data from multiple mobile devices, drones, and computer operating systems, including grabbing passwords from encrypted operating systems backups, bypassing screen locks on Android, getting critical call data, extracting file data from drones, user information from Linux, Mac operating systems, and Windows computers. It also supports Internet of Things device data extraction. Oxygen Forensic Detective. And then we also have Open Computer Forensics Architecture, known as OCFA. Open Computer Forensics Architecture is a forensic analysis framework written by the Dutch National Police Agency. They developed this software in pursuing the main goal of speeding up their digital crime investigations, allowing researchers to access data from a unified and UX-friendly interface. Yes? Open source forensics architecture. It has been integrated into or is part of the core of many other popular cybercrime investigation tools, such as the Sleuthkit, Scalpel, Prototech, and others. And then also, apart from that, we also have the bulk extractor, the bulk extractor, and the bulk extractor. The bulk extractor is one of the most popular apps used for extracting critical information from digital evidence data. It works by extracting features like URLs, email addresses, credit card numbers, and much more from ISO disk images and destruct directories or simply files, including images, video, office-based, and compressed files. And then there is another tool called XFI tool, written in Perl. This forensic tool, developed by P.L. Harvey, is a command line based utility that can read, write, and manipulate metadata from several media files such as images and videos. Then we also have the Surface Browser. Surface Browser is your perfect ally for detecting the full online infrastructure of any company and getting valuable intelligence data from DNS records, domain names, and their historical WHOIS records, exposed subdomains, SSL certificates, data, and more. Analyzing the surface of any company or domain name on the internet is as important as analyzing local drives or RAM sticks. It can lead to finding critical data that could be linked to cyber crimes. What you can do with the Surface browser, you can get current DNS data. DNS records are an infinite source of intelligence when it comes to cybersecurity. They hold the key to all publicly exposed internet assets for web, email, and other services, DNS. And then also, apart from that, you can get current DNS data. DNS records are an infinite source of intelligence when it comes to cybersecurity. They hold the key to all publicly exposed internet assets for web, email, and other services. Take note of these things. And then there is also analytical history DNS records. A lot of criminals tend to change DNS records when they commit their malicious activity online, leaving trails of where and how they committed these things at DNS level. Explore the WHOIS history timeline. So you can see with this tool, you can be able to do a lot in terms of investigation, and then explore the WHOIS history timelines. When the attack is not directed at servers or apps, but to domain names, it often involves the WHOIS data. For this kind of situation, the Surface browser history timeline becomes your best friend, letting you visualize any changes at register level for all your WHOIS information. This WHOIS history lets you jump backwards and forwards instantly to get exact information about the domain register. WHOIS registrant, admin, and technical contact in mere seconds. And then also we have the grab full IP block data. This tool can help you grab full IP block data while investigating a digital crime that involves companies, networks, and especially IP addresses. Getting the full IP map of the involved structure is critical. Surface browser allows you to explore single IPs as well as full IP blocks, and you can filter IP ranges by regional registrar or subnet size. Once you get the full list of IP blocks, you'll be able to get the full IP count for each one. Unique user agents, RI host names involved, hosted domains, as well as open ports. And then also you can explore associated domains using this tool. When investigating malware, virus, phishing domains, or online frauds, note that the incident under investigation is not an isolated case, but related to others and acting as a malicious network that involves many domains. Associated domains enables the investigator to explore domain names associated to the company or the main domain under investigation and easily filter the results by registrar, organization, creation, and expiration year. As you can see, there is a lot that you can do with this tool called the Surface Browser, and these are some of the areas that you have to visualize or you have to think about when you think about investigating cybercrimes. Investigating cybercrimes, as I said earlier, it is a very complex field, and the people who investigate cybercrimes must be specialists, must be well knowledgeable in these systems. So if you want to rise to this rank, as I have said earlier, you have to go deeper and deeper and deeper and learn about forensic investigations. See for yourself the actual tools that are used and try out extracting data from systems using some of the technologies we have talked about here, or the tools we have spoken about. And then you can also visualize the full subdomain map using the Surface Browser. You can also access reverse IP intelligence. Reverse DNS is one of the most valuable hidden treasures of cybersecurity, as seen in our How to Use Reverse DNS Records to Identify Mass Scanners blog post. When you access this interface, you'll be able to get our massive store of DNS intelligence data in your hands to investigate and relate PTR records with IP addresses easily. You will also be able to filter any open ports and similar records. So you can also check that blog, how to use reverse DNS records to identify mass scanners. Google that blog and read that post and see how to use reverse DNS records to identify mass scanners. And then also, in summary, we say cybercrime investigation is not an easy science. It requires the right knowledge combined with different techniques and tools to jump into digital crime scene effectively and productively. Once you have all this in hand, you can properly analyze data and investigate the root cause, as well as track down the authors behind different types of cybercrimes. You see, as we have said, it is not an easy science. And then finally, we say that if you are working as a cyber crime investigator for a public or a private agency, this tool that we call Surface Browser is the ultimate remote infrastructure auditing tool, one that combines cybersecurity intelligence analysis from all fronts: IP, domain, email, DNS records, SSL certificates, and server side. It requires years of study to learn how to deal with hard cases and, most importantly, get those cases solved. This applies not only to real-world crime scenes, but also to those in the digital world. We have come to the end of this presentation, and I want to appreciate you for being with us, once again for studying with us. And I hope through these presentations you are able to learn exactly what we are talking about when we talk about cyber crimes. I am very confident that you have gained some knowledge through these recordings. With those few remarks, I will say that as new reports come to light and digital new agencies show cybercrime on the rise, it's clear that cybercrime investigation plays a critical role in keeping the internet safe. Traditional law enforcement government agencies are now called upon to investigate not only real-world crimes, but also crimes on the internet. Many well-known security agencies even publish and update the most wanted list of cyber criminals, in the same way we have seen in traditional criminals listed and publicized for years. Cyber crime investigation is a very, very important field in this age where we are using systems a lot, organizations are using systems a lot. Cybercrime investigations is very important. Thank you so much. We shall meet again for the final part of this course. We are going to meet for the final presentation for this course. So thank you and bye-bye.